And I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
I will play the full clip in a minute. I just want to say this. There are speeches that touch you, and then there are those that stay with you forever. To be honest, this is not just a speech. It's a prophecy. A moment in history where a man stood tall, fully aware that he might not make it to the promised land he spoke of. He knew people were out to kill him. He knew his chances of being murdered were extremely high. But his purpose was bigger than his life, and that's the most important thing he knew. This speech is one of the most powerful in human history. What makes it unforgettable is the way he delivered it, with conviction, with urgency, with the weight of a man who had already seen his fate and embraced it. He speaks about difficult days ahead, about the freedom that makes America great, and about the promise that his people will reach their destination, even if he wouldn't be there to see it. That moment when he says, "I may not get there with you, but we as a people will get to the promised land," is chilling. It's as if he knew his time was up, as if he was giving his final message to the world. And then, the very next day, he was assassinated. Think about that. The man saw what was coming, but he wasn't afraid. Because for him, life wasn't about self-preservation. It was about purpose. He had already climbed the mountain, already seen the future he fought for, and he was at peace with it. That's what true leadership looks like. That's what true sacrifice sounds like. That's why this speech will forever stick with me. Because it's not just words. It's a man laying down his life for a vision bigger than himself.
All we say to America is be true to what you said on paper. If I lived in China or even Russia or any totalitarian country, maybe I could understand some of these illegal injunctions. Maybe I could understand the denial of certain basic First Amendment privileges because they haven't committed themselves to that over there. But somewhere I read of the freedom of assembly. Somewhere I read of the freedom of speech. Somewhere I read of the freedom of press. Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest far right. And so just as I say we aren't going to let any dogs or water hoses turn us around, we aren't going to let any injunction turn us around. Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now because I've been to the mountaintop. I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.